Hey, all right. Hey, welcome everyone. So happy that you are here with us today. Um, I am the authentic coach, Gloria Bailey Ray. And as always, it's a pleasure to be before you. Today, we are going to be talking about you're not too much. You've just been in spaces that required you to shrink. So, again, welcome to Unpack This. And as the authentic coach, today we are unpacking what happens when women spend years shrinking themselves to survive environments that were never designed for them to thrive in. And you know what? Let's be honest. Some women are not exhausted because they're weak. Not at all. They're exhausted from performing smaller versions of themselves every single day. Do I need to say that again? uh, some women, they are exhausted. Again, not because they're weak, but just from performing those smaller versions of themselves each and every single day. Smaller at work, smaller in relationships, smaller in leadership, smaller around insecure friends, smaller around fragile egos, and eventually you become disconnected from who you really are. I mean, that's real. By the way, if you're tuned in and you're streaming live with me, guess what? Put it in the chat. Let me know where you're streaming from. Shout out to all of you in the Houston, Texas area and those from the ATL. So, you know what? You've been called too much, too emotional, too opinionated, too ambitious, too direct, too strong. Can anybody relate to this? Too confident. How about too loud? Too intimidating? And guess what? After hearing it enough times, you started questioning your own self, thinking, maybe I should tone it down. Maybe I should stop speaking up. Maybe I should stop shining so brightly. Maybe I should make other people more comfortable. But look, let's tell the truth today. You were never too much. I want you to hear that. You were never too much. You were simply surrounded by people, environments, and systems that benefited from you being smaller. That's right. Because the moment a woman fully occupies space, whether it's emotionally, intellectually, spiritually, creatively, professionally. People who are uncomfortable with power will often label her or label her presence as a problem. Been there, done that. And sometimes those people, they aren't strangers. Sometimes it's friends, co-workers, family members, church members, partners, or even other women. People, hear me when I say this, people who you applauded, you know, people, let me say, people who applauded you. Let me make that correction. These are people who applauded you as long as your light did not outshine theirs. Come on, you know it's real. But the moment your confidence became visible, guess what? The energy shifted. Yeah, it did. Suddenly, guess what? Ooh, girl, you're doing too much. Suddenly, it's you've changed. Or how about this? You're too ambitious. No, that's a big no. What changed is that you stop minimizing yourself. Yeah, this is a hot topic for me. Listen, an insecure people often become uncomfortable when the person And you hear me when I say this, when the person that they underestimated finally recognizes their own value. All right. So allow me to just break this down if I were talking about the psychology around shrinking. See, research consistently shows that women are often penalized for the exact same behaviors men are rewarded for. A man is assertive. Guess what? A woman is difficult. A man is confident. A woman is intimidating. A man is ambitious. A woman is too aggressive. Studies from Harvard Business Review found that women leaders frequently receive feedback that's centered around tone, personality, and likability instead of actual performance. And just when I think back to performance reviews that I got, this just resonated so much with me. So, just think about that. Instead of the woman's performance, there, it's focused on, things that they don't focus on with men. And here's the deal: men are evaluated on results, and women are evaluated most often on how comfortable they make other people feel. And this, what happens over time, that conditioning, it changes women. See, what happens, women begin to apologize before speaking. They over they over explain their decisions. They downplay their accomplishments. They hide intelligence. They avoid visibility. They even avoid leadership. They suppress emotions. They stay quiet in meetings and question. Guess what? They question their instincts. That's not personality, folks. That's adaptation. That's survival behavior. And many women become experts at shrinking before they even realize they were doing it, right? And where does this come from? Well, let me just tell you, when we think about back, even when it comes to childhood conditioning, see, this didn't just start in adulthood. It actually starts early on. Little girls are often praised for being nice, being quiet, being agreeable, being helpful, being easy. And guess what? Many girls learn very quickly, if I make people comfortable, I'll be loved. But boys, on the other hand, are often encouraged to take risks, speak loudly, lead, compete, and challenge. So, women grow up learning, don't make people uncomfortable, right? And then society has the audacity to wonder why so many women struggle with boundaries and visibility. Because somewhere along the way, many women learned that acceptance is safer than authenticity. Y'all know that's my favorite word, authenticity. So let me talk to you a moment about when your light threatens other people. Um, it's something that a lot of people don't discuss enough. Sometimes the people undermining you, they're not enemies. Sometimes there are people that's close to you, like friends. How about coworkers? Sometimes family. Sometimes people who smiled in your face while quietly were resenting your growth. Let me just say this, because not everyone celebrates your evolution. Let that sit with you for a second. Not everyone celebrates your evolution. Some people preferred you to be broken, unsure, dependent, less confident, less visible. See, as long as you played small, they felt comfortable. But once you started healing, whew, you started speaking, you started leading, you started glowing, you started achieving. Guess what? This triggered their insecurity. And suddenly they stopped supporting you publicly. Oh, yeah. They minimized your accomplishments. They leave you out intentionally. Hear me when I say this, ladies. I'm talking to you. They become passive aggressive. They compete with you instead of celebrating you. They gossip about you. They question your motives. Oh, yeah. They act irritated every time your name comes up. And sometimes the most painful part is realizing that people you genuinely loved were quietly uncomfortable with your shine. All right, come on, come on. But look, let me take you here. Let's talk for a moment about coworkers who undermine you. Yep, y'all know it. Been there. I want to talk to you about the workplace because some women spend years working in environments where their brilliance is tolerated, but it's never supported. You train people who later get promoted over you. You speak up in meetings, and someone else repeats your idea and gets credit. Oh, come on now. You work twice as hard just to receive half the recognition. And here's the interesting thing. This is what got me and why I do this show. You're expected to mentor, nurture, support, and emotionally, when I say this, emotionally carry teams while simultaneously you're being overlooked. And guess what? When you finally stand up and you advocate for yourself, now they're labeling you as being difficult. And some coworkers will absolutely undermine talented women, right? Not because you lack value, but because your competence exposes their insecurity. And I have to say this again, insecure people often use tactics like exclusion, gossip, microaggressions, dismissiveness, lack of support, credit stealing, and silent competition to regain psychological control. See, some people don't want collaboration. Hear me when I say this. What they want is superiority. And if your light exposes their mediocrity, they may try to dim yours. Oh, come on. I know it's tight, but it's right today. Listen, friendships, I'm going to talk to you about that. Friendships that require shrinking. Mm. Some friendships survive only because one person stays small. Let's say that again. Some friendships survive only because one person stays small, right? Because some of the friendships they survive because one woman is, quote, less powerful, she's less confident, less successful, less visible. And I'm going to tell you this, the moment you evolve, guess what? The friendship shifts. Now, they don't celebrate your wins. They don't support your business. They don't even share your accomplishments. Certainly don't clap for you publicly, and they don't encourage your growth. But you know what? They also have the audacity to expect you to endlessly support them. And many women stay loyal to people who are secretly resentful of them. Why? Because, again, women are often conditioned to preserve relationships at the expense of themselves. But hear me say this, and I'm saying it clearly. Everybody smiling with you is not happy for you. And maturity is recognizing when somebody enjoys access to you, but not your elevation. Come on now. And let me talk to you for a moment about the emotional cost of shrinking. Yeah, I want to talk about that cost because shrinking yourself comes with consequences. Research on emotional suppression shows that constantly filtering your identity, it creates psychological stress, emotional fatigue, anxiety, and burnout. Translation, ladies, your body keeps score when your spirit is constantly edited, right? And this is especially true for high achieving women, women leaders, women entrepreneurs, women of color, women in male dominated industries, women raised to survive through people pleasing. And guess what? Men and women become exhausted from doing too much. Yes, they're exhausted from carrying the emotional labor of making everyone else comfortable. Ladies, eventually, what's going to happen is you don't even know who you are anymore because you spent years performing a version of yourself that was designed for other people's comfort. But let me tell you about the danger of dimming yourself. The longer you shrink, the more disconnected you become. And I'm talking about you're disconnected from your own power. You stop trusting your instincts. You stop using your voice. You stop pursuing opportunities. And you even second guess your brilliance. You hesitate before posting. You hesitate before applying. You hesitate before leading. You hesitate before charging your worth. I know some of you can relate to what I'm saying. And eventually, you start believing the lie that you are the problem. I need you to hear me carefully. You are not too much. You have simply been surrounded by people with limited emotional capacity. Listen, let me get personal for a moment. See, I know what it feels like to walk into rooms and immediately feel pressure to reduce yourself, to soften your language, to make yourself easier to digest. It's easier for you to hold back your intelligence to avoid making other people uncomfortable. I've been in professional spaces where I could feel the shift the moment I became fully visible. And I know many women listening, you've experienced the same thing. You can feel when your confidence threatens insecure people. You can feel when your leadership makes people uncomfortable. You can feel when people um, secretly hoped you would stay uncertain. But let me tell you something powerful. Oh, your light is not offensive. It is revealing. Why do I say that? Because it reveals who is genuinely secure and who is intimidated. Pay attention. Listen, the wrong environment will make you feel like a burden, whereas the right environment will recognize you as an asset. The wrong relationship will call your standards unrealistic. The right relationship will rise to meet them. The wrong workplace will feel threatened by your voice. But if you're in the right workplace, they will value your contributions. And I'm going to break it down all the way down to the wrong friendships will compete with your success, whereas the right friendships will celebrate your growth. So I need you to stop confusing incompatibility with inadequacy. Everybody cannot go where you're going. Do I need to say that again? Everybody. Not everybody that's in that what you call a circle. Just because they been with you don't mean they get to go with you. So let's tell the truth. See, some people never wanted you to heal. Why? Because healed women becomes harder to manipulate. Women with boundaries become harder to control. Women who know their value become harder to silence. Yeah, that's right. So instead of celebrating your growth, let me tell you what's going to happen. People, they may call you selfish, dramatic, intimidating, emotional, even arrogant, difficult, too independent, or how about just too much? Yeah, because manageable women make insecure people comfortable. But empowered women force people to confront themselves. That's right. In my book, When to Get Up from the Table, When Love Isn't Being Served, this is the moment where a woman realizes, I have spent years shrinking myself just to stay seated at tables that never honored me. Think about that. That's deep. And let me just say that healing begins when a woman starts to understand that love should not require self-erasure, not at all. When a woman understands that friendship should not require self-erasure, leadership should not require self-erasure. And I'm going to tell you, success should not require self-erasure, right? And authenticity should never feel unsafe. Never, ever, ever. Not at all. So, you know, I really want you to get this piece. You were not created to dim your light. You were not created to water down your brilliance, reduce your standards, silence your intuition, abandon your voice, become emotionally convenient, or to play small for insecure people. No, ladies, not at all. You learn those survival skills, but see, survival is not alignment. Say that again. Survival is not alignment. And what was learned, I want to tell you, it can be unlearned. Yep, that's right. Let me talk about what healing looks like. Healing is speaking without you apologizing. Healing is celebrating yourself openly. Healing is about setting boundaries confidently. Healing is about being visible without guilt. Healing is about taking credit for your own work. Yep. Healing is about allowing yourself to shine. Healing is about you stopping over explaining your existence. Healing means recognizing you do not need permission to take up space. And let me say this loudly and proudly. You do not owe anybody smallness to maintain their comfort. Oh, come on now. Look, see, some relationships will end the moment you stop shrinking. So get ready. Some people only liked the version of you that lacked boundaries. Set boundaries and see what happens. Some coworkers only felt comfortable when you doubted yourself. And some friends, they only felt secure when you played smaller than them. And yes, that realization hurts. I know. But losing access to people who required your self-betrayal, I want you to get this piece. It's not a loss. It's alignment, right? So I want you to let this episode remind you that you are not hard to love. You are not too intense. You are not too ambitious. You are not too powerful. You are not too much. You have simply outgrown environments, relationships, friendships, and workplaces that require your silence in order for you to function. And maybe your next level in life, it's not about you becoming someone new, but maybe it's finally giving yourself permission to stop apologizing for who you already are. Maybe healing looks like no longer negotiating your brilliance. Maybe freedom looks like taking up space without you feeling guilty. And maybe the people calling you too much were simply benefiting from the version of you that stayed small, right? I think that this is it's key. And I want to say this to you. This is why we do this on Unpack. We're always unpacking things. If today's episode resonated with you, I'm going to ask you to share it with someone who needs this conversation. Leave a review on Apple, Spotify, Buzzsprout, Podcast. These are all of the top 15 podcast platforms. If this message reaches more hearts, it helps. I'm going to ask you to do that. For coaching, resources, and upcoming events, I'm going to ask you to visit my website, gloriabaileyray.com. And remember, you don't have to carry everything alone. See, sometimes healing begins when you finally unpack it. That's right. So it has been an honor. And until next time, I'm Gloria Bailey Ray, the Authentic Coach. I'm going to encourage you to honor, hear me when I say this, to honor your truth, protect your peace. I need you to live unapologetically. Yes. So be sure and join me every Thursday live on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, where we are always unpacking things that as women we need to learn to care ourselves. Be well, guys. Peace, blessings.